The ultimate ramifications of the Federal Reserve System that we have in place is going to be sovereign bankruptcy. There is no other way around this situation. If you look at what is happening in Greece today, if you look at what is happening in the state of California today, everybody remembers what happened with these corporations like Enron. Everybody knows what happened there. And what you basically had is a lot of fraud taking place, for tricking people to invest in these corporations, tricking people, to buy the debt. To buy the debt. And that's precisely what the Federal Reserve does. The Federal Reserve tricks foreign countries, foreign entities, individual lenders, individual investors into buying this debt, knowing that at some point it is going to be impossible for the Congress and the people to put up enough collateral to pay off all this debt. There is we already see that trend taking place now. Yes, you have a situation where the tax revenues being collected are going down, and we've talked about that on these airwaves before. But the government spending is going up. Now, how long, if you were doing this in your private life, how long could you continue that before? Borrowing money to pay off your, taking out one credit card to pay off another credit card. All you're doing is increasing your debt, knowing that you don't have the collateral to pay these debts off, and at some point, instead of having a small bankruptcy, you're going to have a massive bankruptcy. And the problem is, say for instance like a corporation like Enron, at some point there was a day of reckoning when they can no longer swindle the investors, they can no longer trick anybody into investing in the company anymore. And at that point, you had a few folks at the top that made off like a bandit with, billions of dollars, and all the investors and all the employees were left holding the bag. No pensions, no nothing, dead broke. And the investors had nothing to show for their investments. And that is exactly, precisely what is going to happen to the United States of America under this system that the Federal Reserve, that these international bankers have created. And as we look at it across the board, the warnings are there from economists left and right. Alan Greenspan himself, who used to be the head of the Federal Reserve, has warned us that this is not sustainable. That they're just over the horizon looming is a day when we will no longer be able to pay even the interest on this debt. And when that day happens, we already see what the government is trying to do. They're talking about a VAT tax now on top of the income tax, on top of all the local taxes that we have, the property taxes. If you ever sat down in your life and you just added up all of the taxes that you pay right now, forget what this administration is talking about. It would be easily 60-70% of your income. There's no doubt about it. If you include property taxes, real estate taxes, sales taxes, the payroll taxes, the income taxes. So the excessive taxation is there. But there's going to come a time when no amount of taxation is going to be able to prevent this sovereign bankruptcy, this sovereign failure of the United States of America. And the reason that we know that it's coming is because the international bankers that control the Federal Reserve and that control our money and that control the debt of the United States, they have no interest whatsoever in the future of the United States. They're not even remotely concerned about the financial solvency of the United States. What they are concerned about is making more and more and more and more money off of the American people through the interest that they will collect when the Congress goes and borrows more money from them. So why do we expect that this government is going to stop spending money as long as the Federal Reserve exists? You must understand that as long as the Federal Reserve, a private corporation, corporation, a private group of foreign bankers, as long as they control the money and the debt of the United States of America, this Congress will never stop spending. So my point to you as a citizen is stop asking them to quit spending. Your requests are falling on deaf ears. How many times have you said to yourself, can't these politicians see what they are doing? How in the world can we afford health care reform? How in the world can we afford to continue increasing government spending? And you're looking at these politicians and these congressmen and these senators and this president, and you're saying, what are you thinking? What in the world are you thinking? You must stop spending. You are spending this country into oblivion. You are spending us towards national bankruptcy. You are indebting and enslaving the future generations of this country. And the reason that you get no response from them, the very reason you get no response whatsoever, is because your congressman is not in control. Your senator is not in control. This president is not in control. The control of the debt of the United States of America, the control of the money supply of the United States of America is in the hands of foreign international bankers through the Federal Reserve. That is why the government doesn't stop spending. I cannot stress that enough. So for you folks out there to continue to ask these politicians, these fraudulent, corrupt, ineffective, lying politicians, when you ask them to stop spending money, you are almost making yourself as big a fool as they are. Because if you understand how the Federal Reserve works, if you understand that our debt and that our money is not controlled by Congress, but it is controlled by a private entity, by private foreign international bankers that have absolutely no interest whatsoever in the future or the survival of the United States of America or our Constitution. If you understand that, then you will know how pointless it is to ask these congressmen to quit spending. I'll be back in a minute. The Federal Reserve is a private entity. It is made up of private international bankers that have absolutely no interest whatsoever in the future of the United States of America or of our Constitution. They control our debt. They control our money supply. Congress unconstitutionally delegated their authority to coin and print money in 1913 as a part of the Federal Reserve Act. And for Congress to continue to authorize the Federal Reserve to control the money supply of this nation is unconstitutional and, dare I say, treasonous. There are many people that have requested the abolishment of the Federal Reserve, and that is the appropriate course. Make no mistake about it. But there are also people that have just suggested that we audit the Federal Reserve. Representative Ron Paul has requested for years and has tried to sponsor legislation to have the Federal Reserve audited. It has all been to no avail because, again, they really do not have any power whatsoever over this entity. It is a private international corporation. And when you saw President Bush leave office, and there was conveniently planned a big financial crisis, and there was an $800 billion bailout, that burden was placed on you, the American taxpayer. For weeks, the Congress was steadfast in their refusal to sign off on that bailout. But the head of the Federal Reserve, Henry Hank Paulson, made threats to congressmen saying that if they did not authorize that $800 billion loan conveniently at the end of the Bush administration, that there would be martial law in the United States of America. And they tricked those congressmen into signing that $800 billion bailout amidst the cries of 90% of the American population saying, you had better not authorize this. But they did it anyway. And if you ever look back and ask yourself, why did they do it? It's because Congress is not in control of the money. Congress is not in control of the debt of the United States of America. Our debt and our money is controlled by independent bankers. And that is why your rage and your voice and your opposition to all this spending is falling on deaf ears, and it will continue to fall on deaf ears. And if you don't think that this system isn't corrupt, did you see what's ahead of the Drudge Report today? Ex-Citigroup leaders, defensive on crisis. Charles Prince and Robert Rubin, who led Citigroup in the run-up to the 2008 banking crisis, voiced regrets on Thursday, but accepted no responsibility for the mega bank's massive losses. Citigroup received $45 billion. A private entity received $45 billion from the American taxpayer as a part of that bailout that I was talking about. Now, this individual, Robert Rubin, is one of the leaders of Citigroup Bank. Now, how convenient is it that Robert Rubin was formerly the United States Treasury Secretary during the Clinton administration? So the corruption, it's a revolving door between the government and these private banks. I'll see you guys tomorrow night.